But the church is 160 years old. What happened 160 years ago? Let me give you a quick thumbnail sketch of Detroit 160 years ago. They only had 20,000 people in the whole city. They only had one church, St. Anne's Church, which was founded in 1701 when Cadillac declared Detroit as a French possession, and Father Richard established St. Anne's Church. From 1701 to 1804, Detroit was essentially a French village. Then there were a group of immigrants who came to the Detroit, Michigan area looking for work, looking to establish themselves and have careers in this wonderful state. Amongst them was a young man, 20 years old, came here from Pittsburgh. Our archives for Fort Street don't say this, but we looked up the history of Samuel Zug, who came here from Pittsburgh when he was 20 years old, was ingraciously termed a penniless bookkeeper. Nevertheless, he had the vision that this would be a wonderful place to establish himself. He met up with a man by the name of Stevenson, and they organized quickly a furniture factory, because the immigrants, when they came here, only had their clothing and utensils and so forth. They were able to buy a house, but they had nothing to put in it. And so Mr. Stevenson and Samuel Zug sold them furniture. In a short 15 years or so, both men were quite wealthy from the product of their imagination. They foresaw that what was needed, and they provided it. Samuel Zug had joined the First Presbyterian Church of Detroit. It was encouraged by the governor of the state, Lewis Cass. Do you know the name? Cass Avenue is right out here. Who wanted to promote people coming to the Detroit area, but they needed another church. And so they organized the First Protestant Society, which quickly became known as First Presbyterian because there was a preponderance of Presbyterians who were in that group. In 1848, First Protestant Church had so many children they had to start a Sunday school in the old state capitol building in Cadillac Square. By that time, Detroit, or rather Michigan, had been named a state by the government, and so they moved the capital to Lansing, leaving their state capitol building of Detroit vacant. First Protestant Society rented it and put in their children who really wanted and demanded a Sunday school. They appointed Samuel Zug as the temporary person to run that Sunday school for them. In 1849, just 1 year later, Lewis Cass was back again. He said, what you really need is another church over on the west side of Detroit. I would like to encourage you to make a search committee to do that. The pastor at that time was named Robert Kellogg. And they had a congregational meeting and asked for volunteers to join a search committee to find another church. Samuel Zug stood up. Incidentally, so did Mrs. Kellogg. There were 26 people who volunteered that day to go look for another church, to be called Second Presbyterian Church. They were formally discharged from First Presbyterian, given the tag of Second Presbyterian Search Committee and sent on their way to find a church in 1849. The odyssey of the travels of this committee are bewildering. They spent endless days and hours trying to find the place to build a church. They made a couple of small starts which were failures. And as time went by, they were beginning to doubt that they could find a church. But they did. There was a group of wealthy householders in this particular area. They came to Sam Zug and said, "We'd like to join your group. We'd like to help you find a church. If you'll let us join with you, we'll help pay for the church." Samuel thought that was a pretty good proposition. And so in 1855, they started the new church. They hired an architect who designed the magnificent sanctuary in which you are sitting this morning. It was finished in 1857, judged the finest example of Gothic architecture in the entire United States.